Asterisk, the badlands east of Tombstone had a way of swallowing sound. Even the wind seemed to think twice before whistling between the jagged red rocks that guarded Diablo Canyon. Cole McGraw rode through them like a man who'd spent half his life chasing ghosts and the other half creating them. Asterisk, the bounty poster in his pocket still smelled of fresh ink. Isabella Moreno red knife, the papers called her, had eluded posses from Tucson to Yuma, and every ranger in the territory had a story about seeing her silhouette vanish into smoke. Some said she was half Apache, some said she was half devil, but all agreed she was trouble a man couldn't outride. Asterisk, McGraw had caught her at dawn, not through luck but through patience. She'd come down to the creek near Skeleton Ridge, thinking herself alone, filling canteens with the calm of someone who'd never feared the desert. She didn't hear him behind her until his shadow crossed the water. Asterisk, now she rode in front of him, hands fixed behind her, ankles tied beneath her horse's belly. Dust streaked her cheeks, but her eyes stayed sharp, as the story said, and though her wrists bore the rope's bite, she carried herself with a kind of defiance that made McGraw understand why so many men had failed to bring her in. Asterisk, you could have gone to Yavapai instead, she said finally, breaking an hour of silence. They'd pay double. Asterisk, Yavapai wants you for burning their payroll, McGraw answered. Tombstone wants you for shooting 2 deputies. I reckon the gallows and Tombstone are closer. Asterisk, closer for you, she murmured. Maybe not for me. Asterisk, he caught her meaning, but he didn't answer. In this country, rescue could come fast and death even faster. Asterisk, they reached Diablo Canyon as the sun pulled long shadows across the ground. The old hanging tree stood near the canyon rim, a twisted juniper older than the mines, older than the forts, older than any law written on paper. Men told stories about it around saloon lamps, stories of bandits who begged to be shot instead, of sheriffs who refused to ride out this far. Asterisk, McGraw didn't believe in spirits, but he respected the tree. It had seen the last breaths of men far meaner than he'd ever hunted. Asterisk, he dismounted, signaled his posse, and brought her forward. The air carried the scent of dry bark and distant storms. A single buzzard circled overhead, its wings stretched wide. Asterisk, you planning to leave me here? She asked, voice level, not mocking, not afraid. Asterisk, long enough to make folks think twice, McGraw said. You've left enough bodies on the trail? Territory needs a message. Asterisk, you think fear keeps men honest? She asked. Fear only breeds more fear. And bullets breed widows, he replied. For a moment, they stared at each other, hunter and hunted, lines blurred by circumstance and dust. He saw something in her expression, not regret exactly, but a strange kind of acceptance. As if she'd always known her life might end under an open sky. Asterisk, his men tightened ropes, anchoring her upright against the thick split of 2 branches that forked like outstretched arms. They made sure she couldn't walk off, couldn't slip away. It wasn't torture he wanted, just confinement. Just a warning. Asterisk, the sun dipped lower, painting the canyon gold. Coyotes barked from somewhere unseen. The desert had a patience no man possessed. Asterisk, let her down easy, Cole, drawled Hank Ryder, one of his oldest partners. Ain't our place to judge more'n the bounty says. Asterisk, McGraw didn't reply. He'd wrestled with that himself. Justice and vengeance looked too similar out here. Asterisk, another man, Caleb Vance, spat in the dust. I say we let the desert decide. If she deserves another sunrise, she get one. Asterisk, Isabella listened without speaking. Only when the men drifted back to their campfire did she whisper. McGraw! He turned. If you leave me tied through the night, she said quietly. You'd best not sleep too deep. Asterisk, threats won't help you. Asterisk, that's not a threat, she said. It's a warning. He frowned slightly, but she offered nothing more. Night swept in fast. The canyon cooled, stars pricked across the velvet sky, and the fire cast long, trembling shadows. The men argued in low voices about whether she'd survive coyotes, whether any outlaw friends might come for her, whether they themselves had enough ammunition if trouble hit. Asterisk, McGraw sat a little apart, cleaning his rifle, but his thoughts drifted to the rumors red knife never rode alone. They said she had a blood-bonded brother. An Apache renegade the soldiers called Geronimo Jack, a man half myth and half nightmare. McGraw hadn't believed the tales until the war cry tore through the canyon like lightning splitting a tree. Every man stood in an instant. Horses reared. Embers scattered from the fire. Isabella raised her head, and for the first time a flicker of emotion, relief, fierce and bright, crossed her face. McGraw cursed under his breath. He recognized that sound. It didn't belong to one man. It belonged to many. Shadows moved on the canyon ridge, dozens, maybe more. Painted faces. 1,000 rifles. Warriors sliding between rocks with the silence of spirits returning home. Geronimo Jack stepped into the starlight, bare-chested, scars crossing his skin like a map of old battles. His hair was braided with red clay. His eyes glowed with something McGraw couldn't read: grief, fury, maybe both. You took my sister, Jack called out, his English rough but steady. Now I take you. McGraw's men scrambled for cover. Arrows thudded into the ground. A shot rang out, Caleb firing wild into the dark. More shots answered from the ridge. The canyon erupted into chaos. McGraw dove behind a boulder, firing carefully, trying to buy time. Dust exploded around him with each returning volley. The warriors descended the slopes with terrifying precision, their silhouettes flickering between torches. Hank Ryder fell beside the fire, clutching his shoulder. Caleb vanished behind smoke. 2 horses broke loose and thundered into the desert, riderless. McGraw! Isabella shouted from the tree. He turned and saw an arrow embedded in the rope at her side. Not aiming to kill? Aiming to cut her loose. Another arrow flew, slicing the second rope. She twisted, wriggled free, and dropped to the ground as Jack rushed toward her through the fray. McGraw raised his rifle out of instinct, then froze. She wasn't running toward Jack. She was running toward McGraw. Behind you! She cried. He spun just as a warrior lunged from the darkness, blade raised. McGraw barely blocked the swing with the rifle's stock. Isabella seized a fallen revolver and fired once, the shot echoing through the canyon. The attacker collapsed. Jack reached them seconds later, eyes blazing. For a moment, hostility crackled like summer lightning between the two men. Then Jack looked at his sister, at the marks left by the ropes, at the dust on her face, and something softened. She helped me, McGraw said before Jack could speak. And I didn't harm her. Isabella nodded. He didn't? Jack studied McGraw a long moment, weighing truth from air. Finally, he signaled his warriors to withdraw. The canyon quieted, leaving only smoke drifting toward the stars. Isabella stepped closer to McGraw. You saved my life, she said. You saved mine first. She gave a faint, tired smile. We're even then. Not quite, he said. You still got a price on your head. Then you'd better ride fast. Bounty man, she whispered, because I ride faster. And with that, she mounted behind Jack, disappearing into the moonlit ridges. A ghost returning to her legend. McGraw watched until every shadow was gone. The canyon felt empty again, as if the land itself exhaled. Tomorrow. He'd have to answer for a lost bounty. Tonight. He was just grateful to be alive. And somewhere deep down, against all reason, he hoped he'd cross paths with Red Knife again, not as enemies, but as two souls who had survived the canyon's judgment.